All right, well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the May 4th, 2021 Hempstead Town Board meeting. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Supervisor Clavin.
Here.
Councilman Blakeman. Here. Councilman Carini.
Here.
Councilman D'Esposito.
I'm here.
Councilman Dunn.
Here.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Here. Councilman Muscarella.
Present. Okay, Councilman D'Esposito, since you're already standing, you want to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure. With your hand over your heart, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Because of the governor's executive orders and COVID-19 pandemic, today's public hearing will allow for both in-person participation and telephonic participation using the GoToWebinar. The instructions participating using the GoToWebinar and all relevant documents are on the town's website. When the clerk calls the first public hearing, first those here will be heard, and then you'll have a chance to speak at the GoToWebinar. When it's your chance, please, you must pay attention. Your name will be called. You must also remember to click the Raise Your Hand button on the GoToWebinar if you want to be heard. If you do not click your Raise Your Hand button, you will not be called. All participants on the GoToWebinar will be muted until the moderator calls your name to speak. You must pay attention for your name and begin speaking when your name is called, or the moderator will have to go on to the next participant. The moderator will not recall anyone's name, so please pay attention. If you're participating in the GoToWebinar and watching in the live stream, then you must mute the live stream when it is your turn to speak, or you will not be understood. Each participant will be given one chance to speak for up to 3 minutes. When you are done speaking or when your time is up, the moderator will again mute you on the GoToWebinar. At the end of the public hearings portion of the meeting, the GoToWebinar will be turned off, and I encourage all those who are using the GoToWebinar to continue listening and watching the meeting on the town's live stream. Please also note that anyone using profanity or straying off topic will be muted by our moderator. Madam Clerk, with that, would you please call the first public hearing?
Yes, Supervisor. The first public hearing is a petition of the Commissioner of Buildings to demolish and remove a one-story wood frame, one-family dwelling with detached garage and remove all litter and debris from property in Uniondale.
Okay, first, is there any board member who wishes to be heard on this? Okay, if not, there's anyone here at Town Hall who wishes to be heard on this? I don't have any slips in on this. Yes, if you please go up to the podium there. It's been sanitized. Yep, go right around there. Thank you. And you please just give your name and address for the record, and thank you.
Yes, Pearl Jacobs. I am president of Nostrand Garden Civic Association in Uniondale. My question regarding that one-family dwelling, it's actually situated in the middle of a residential block. Are there any plans for replacing that blight that's going to be vacant and that in the middle of that block is going to be glaring?
Okay. Who do we have here from the Buildings Department? Come on up there, Commissioner. Commissioner, just identify yourself for Ms. Jacobs.
Frederick Jarwitz, Acting Building Commissioner, Town of Hempstead.
Okay.
Mr. Supervisor,
We move a little closer, Freddie.
we do not develop the property. We're simply in action to remove the house and monitor future developments.
Okay. So as of right now, it would be fair to say to Ms. Jacobs that you're going to knock down the structure, flatten it down, and when someone wants to develop it, it'll be developed. Until then, it won't be a flat piece of land?
Correct.
So may I ask another question, please? Why are you knocking down that home when there are several other homes in Uniondale that were languishing much longer than that home? Why is that being removed? And there are other, I can name one on Windsor Place, where it's been languishing there for at least 6-7 years. Why are those homes remaining and this one is being knocked down so quickly?
Well, a lot of the actions that we take are complaint-driven, as you know. And what happens is we go through a process of extensive enforcement, followed by Chapter 20 letters, followed by review with an independent architect and engineer. It takes time, and it's really on a priority list more of complaints and input from the community as to which ones we act on.
Okay, well, thank you for your explanations. I'm just concerned because there are many other houses in the community that need to be knocked down, but they're not. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobs. Anybody else here at Town Hall wish to be heard on this matter? Okay, Mr. Moderator?
Supervisor, one participant has clicked raise your hand. Ruth Ann McCormick. Ruth Ann, you are unmuted. Please go ahead with your comments for us.
If you just give your name and address for the record, thank you.
Ruth Ann, you're muted on your side. Please unmute yourself and give us your comments.
Does she live in Roosevelt?
Ruth Ann, you're still muted on your side. Supervisor, Ruth Ann has put her hand back down, so I don't think she's going to comment on this case. We don't have any other participant who clicked raise your hand.
Okay, if not, then may I please have a motion?
I move that the public hearing be closed and that the demolition, as it's stated here, be proceed.
Supervisor Clavin?
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman? Councilman Carini?
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Pasito? Councilman Dunn?
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby?
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella?
Aye. Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
Petition of the Commissioner of Buildings to demolish and remove a one-story masonry commercial building, one-story metal building attached to masonry building, and two-story wood frame structure, and remove all litter and debris from property in Uniondale.
Okay. First, does any board member wish to be heard on this item? Okay. I do not have any slips, but does anybody at Town Hall wish to be heard on this matter? Okay, if you could just go to the back there, give your name and address for the record.
Good morning, Mr. Supervisor, members of the board. For the record, my name is Chris Tartaglia from the engineering firm High Point Engineering, 521 Conklin Street, Farmingdale, New York, 11735. I just wanted to appear today to let the board know I've had some discussions with some building department officials that my firm has been retained by the contract vendee of this property, PTL Petroleum. Their offices are at 125 Jericho Turnpike, Suite 303, Jericho, New York, 11753, to perform two functions upon their closing of the purchase of this property. Their closing is currently scheduled for June 14th of this year. We will certainly hope that that's the date that it occurs, but it may be delayed a week or so with COVID and things like that. Sometimes they're delayed, but PTL is purchasing this property and has committed to provide for our immediate assistance in securing a demolition permit to remove all structures from this property. Immediately after closing, we will file these applications with the building department. We will then secure the site with a fence around the entire perimeter and take care of any weed or other overgrowth issues throughout the period. The second function that my firm will handle is to provide permitting services for a raise and rebuild of the property and redevelop it into a state-of-the-art gasoline station with convenience store. If the folks on the AV could put the rendering up, it's a little bit hard to see, maybe if we can zoom in on that, but the property is going to be a BP-branded service station with a convenience store, new canopy, and landscaping located throughout the property. This is going to be an incredible improvement based on virtue of what's out there now. So what we'd like to do, Mr. Supervisor and members of the board, if we can just get another little bit of an extension so that we can have this closing take place. I have provided an affidavit from PTL Petroleum to the building department. I have an extra copy here if you would like one, but it just indicates reiterates what I've just stated. Here you go, this is actually everything. Thanks. That they are contract vendee, they are in contract to purchase. Once they close, we will act swiftly and get a demolition application into the building department, and they will proceed with demolition activities immediately upon issuance of that permit, and also to secure the site.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate you being here today. My question is, I see you said it was going to close on Flag Day, June 14th, right?
That's Friday, correct.
Right. Is it Friday?
I think it's a Friday.
Seriously? No, it can't be. June 15th, I have the next town board meeting. You sure?
It's a Monday.
Thank you. It's my anniversary. Thanks. You'd really get me in trouble. I appreciate it if I listen to you. What I'm thinking about is proposing maybe a adjournment of this hearing, Councilwoman, till the 15th. Maybe you can come back and hopefully you'd have your closing done and you could move forward. Councilwoman, what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, I move that we close the public hearing and move it to June 15th. Okay?
Okay, does that work?
Thank you very much. That's a great idea.
Thanks. And when you come back, you can tell us the great success, and I'll tell you that I made sure I had I brought something home for my wife for the anniversary. I didn't listen to you. So
Good luck
thank
with
you.
that, Supervisor.
We have a motion.
I move. I didn't make a motion already?
You did, and you got a second.
Second. Okay.
Supervisor Clavin?
I to adjourn to the 15th of June.
Thank you.
Councilman Blakeman? Aye. Councilman Carini?
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito?
Aye.
Councilman Dunn?
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby?
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella?
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
A petition of the Commissioner of Buildings to demolish and remove a two-story wood frame, one-family dwelling with detached two-car garage and remove all litter and debris from property in West Hempstead.
Okay, as a member of the board wish to be heard on this? Okay, I do not have any slips. Does any member of the public wish to be heard on this? Okay, now, Mr. Moderator, it's your time in the program.
Supervisor, we have one participant who's clicked raise your hand, Miss Valerie Lamp. Valerie, you are unmuted on our side. Please go ahead and make your comment.
Ms. Lampe, just give your name and address for the record. Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes. If you name and address for the record, thank you.
Valerie Heffron, St. Augustine, Florida, and Massapequa, New York. So my question pertains to this public hearing as well as I believe the one that you just postponed. But on the actual paperwork, I'm just seeing a little bit of a discrepancy. Whereas it lists Mr. Frederick Jawitz, it says Acting Commissioner of Buildings of the Town of Hempstead, against, in this case, I guess the resident of West Hempstead. And then underneath that, it says the petition of John E. Rotkamp, Commissioner of Buildings of the Town of Hempstead shows, et cetera, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it did the same on the prior public hearing. So I'm just wondering, is that accurate, or why is there a discrepancy on the commissioners' names?
I'll let the town attorney explain that to you. Ms. Nocella?
It was accurate at the time it was done because John Rodkamp at the time had been the commissioner of the building department. He is now the commissioner of planning and development, and Mr. Jawitz is correctly identified as the acting commissioner of the building department. So, in fact, everything is accurate as stated.
I see. So it goes back to when the paperwork was initiated?
Correct.
Yes, that's correct.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Lamp. Since I don't have anybody, well, hold on, Mr. Moderator, anybody else raising their hand?
Supervisor, there are no other participants who clicked raise your hand.
Okay, can I please have a motion?
I move the public hearing to be closed and the board accept the item.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman.
Nope.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito. Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed local law regarding regulations and restrictions to limit parking in Elmont, Lido Beach, Malvern, Merrick, near Malvern, Merrick, Roosevelt, Uniondale, and near Valley Stream.
Okay, is any member of the board wish to be heard on this? Okay, I do not have any slips. Does anybody here today wish to be heard on this? All right, Mr. Moderator, now's the chance for people to raise their hand if they could raise their hand.
Supervisor, no participant clicked raise your hand on this public hearing.
Okay, may I please have a motion then?
Supervisor, I move that the public hearing be closed and the local law adopted.
Second motion.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman. Aye. Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next public hearing.
We have a proposed local law regarding parking or standing prohibitions in Elmont, Franklin Square, Roosevelt, Wantagh, and West Hempstead.
Okay, does any member of the board wish to be heard on this matter? Okay, Mr. Moderator, is anybody raising their hand that wishes to be heard on this? Please click it now.
Supervisor, no participant clicked raise your hand on this public hearing.
Okay, with that, Madam Clerk, may I please have a motion?
I move that the public hearing be closed and the local law adopted.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Carini. Councilman Diaz-Bazito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed local law regarding arterial stops in Hempstead, Merrick, Roosevelt, South Hempstead, Wantagh, and Woodmere.
Okay. I do not have any slips on this matter. Does any member of the board wish to be heard on this? Okay, does anybody here in the building wish to be heard on this? Okay, Mr. Moderator, your time.
Supervisor, no participant clicked raise your hand on this public hearing.
Okay, great. May I please have a motion?
Mary?
I move that the public hearing be closed and the item adopted. Sorry.
A second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed handicap parking on public streets in Baldwin, Elmont, Inwood, Garden City South, Uniondale, and Wantagh.
Okay, any member of the board wish to be heard on this? Okay, I don't have any slips on this. Did anybody here today in the meeting wish to be heard on this? Okay, Mr. Moderator, your chance.
Supervisor, no participant clicked raise your hand on this public hearing.
Okay, then may I please have a motion?
Move that the public hearing be closed and the local law adopted. Second that.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
All right, Madam Clerk, please call the next hearing.
We have the application of 141F Realty LLC for a modification of TBR 544-217, 2017, to convert existing repair bays into a convenience store at the described Baldwin premises.
Okay. Go on back, and yep, if you please identify yourself, your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Yes, good morning, Supervisor Clavin, Senior Councilwoman Gooseby,
Excuse me?
Council, members of the board, Madam Clerk, Kevin O'Brien from O'Brien Law PC, offices at 462 Sagamore Avenue in East Williston, New York. I also have with me today Mr. Chris Tartaglia. He's the design professional, licensed professional engineer, and principal of High Point Engineering, the design professionals who prepared the plans, which are before the board and might actually wind up on the screens. Just before I get started, I just want to say how nice it is to actually see everybody in person. You know, feels good to be back in the saddle again, and how fortunate we are. And I just want to relate one little anecdote in that a client of mine just returned from his homeland where his mother was sick, just got back last night, 14-hour flight, and I said, how are things in your country? And he said, complete lockdown. He said, the only thing that is open are the supermarkets. So the fact that we're able to be here and kind of on the mend, I think it's just a great thing for everybody, and I'm pleased to be here. Now with respect to the application. The application involves an existing gasoline service station, which is located on the corner of Grand Avenue and Siemens. It is currently located in the GSS zoning district. Actually, it was just put in the GSS zoning district in 2017, and part of the application here is essentially a variance of the provisions of the GSS, where it was previously a repair-oriented service station, and we would like to convert the service bays to a retail convenience store. The site is essentially currently almost completely improved. When we were back here in 2017, we made substantial improvements at that time, which was a reconfiguration of the pump islands. We put in new underground gasoline storage tanks, new piping, all new dispensers, landscaping improvements. If anybody's had the opportunity to visit the site, the landscaping that they do is just absolutely terrific. I've always mentioned that sometimes I think we as a town should almost have a little bit of a competition. They did this in Babylon, wherein they had, and gas station people are competitive, I got to say, you know, so they had a competition in Babylon to see who had the best looking service station, best landscaping in there, and this particular, the principal of the owner of this particular site won that competition. So maybe the town of Hempstead might want to consider a little competition themselves. And I think, we all, it's the keeping up with the Joneses, where, one service station gets upgraded, the other ones, to stay competitive, do the same thing. And we're trying to make the town of Hempstead a better place, one gas station at a time. The site is essentially compliant. Like I said, we did all the underground gasoline storage tanks. We do have a deficiency with respect to the parking, in as much as 9 parking spaces are required. 6 are provided. Our engineers did the best they possibly can with respect to that. The one thing I would note, though, to the board is that we do have 4 pump islands. The 4 pump islands act as having a parking space essentially on each side. So if you look at it in that sense, while we don't receive credit for it, we technically have got 8 spaces relative to parking, because occasionally people will go in, fuel up their car, get a cup of coffee, come on back out. But other than that, I think we're really in compliance with most of the other rules and regulations. And other than that, the form of the operation, the improvements and all will remain essentially the same. I did notice that we did have some, as part of those improvements that we made, that we needed permits and obtained permits for those improvements. A number of them is still open. So I see that paperwork-wise, we have to close out a number of those, and hopefully we could do that all at the same time. But other than that, I think what we're looking for is reasonable. Necessary will be an upgrade to the area, and we look for the board's favorable discretion. And I'm happy to answer any questions from any interested observers, any board members, or any people at home that lift up their hand.
Okay. Any board members have any questions?
Did you reach out to any of the local neighbors behind the facility and get any feedback, or?
You know what? I'm glad you mentioned that, because I do have, which I should submit.
I'm sorry, I can't really hear you.
Yeah, if you 3, 2.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I said I'm glad you mentioned that, because I should submit. We did reach out, and I have, if I can find it, over 100 signatures. Here we go. I've got a number of consent forms. I know there was an accountant across the street and a bunch of, and I offered to meet with anybody who would meet with me, and I do have over 100 signatures in support of the application.
That's all my questions this time. Thank you.
I just have one question for you. So on the one design in the back, it says existing metal wall panels to be removed, patch and repair wall. Is that the one abutting some of the neighbors in the back? That's all. Looks nice.
Yes.
It is? It is. Yeah, that's it done. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
You good?
Yep.
Any other questions from any of the board members? Okay. You hang out a little bit here. We'll see if we have any questions from either online or from the audience. I don't have any slips on this. Is there anybody from here today who wants to be heard on this? Okay, Mr. Moderator?
Supervisor, no participant clicked raise your hand on this public hearing.
You're good? Okay. Councilman? Okay. Does anybody want to make a motion?
I move the public hearing be closed and the item adopted.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman. Aye. Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito. Aye. Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
I'm voting yes, and I'd like to say they've done a great job as far as decorating with all the beautiful flowers and so forth around that gas station, and they keep it nice. Keep it up.
Okay. Thank you, Senior Councilwoman.
And Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, please call the next public hearing.
We have the application of Old Mill Estates for a special exception for an auto body repair shop business with temporary storage of vehicles under repair in Baldwin.
Good morning, Supervisor, members of the board. Christian Brown, 333 Earl Ovington Boulevard, Suite 601, Uniondale, appearing for the applicant on this application. This relates to a facility at 1025 Merrick Road in Baldwin. This is a long existing auto body repair shop. It's been a fixture in the Baldwin community since the late 1950s. We are, at this time, attempting to legalize all conditions on the site, including upgrades to the interior, such as a new fire suppression system that has already been installed throughout the building, so that the owner can obtain an up-to-date and proper certificate of occupancy. The reason that we are here before you today is because in about 1978, the owner added a 2,600 square foot addition to the building that was not part of the original approval granted back in 1964. So if you look at your site plan, you'll see that there's an L-shaped addition that's striped, goes around the back and the west side of the building. As I said, it was added over 40 years ago, and the reason for the addition was simply to increase the interior space so that more cars could be parked inside and the cars inside could be more easily moved around, and that the spray booth facility could be installed in what was then considered a better location. And the spray booth facility remains in that part of the addition that was added in the late 1970s. But because that addition did not exist at the time that the permit for the use was issued back in 1964, in order for us to complete the legalization of this entire site, we are required to essentially update the special exception use to include that 2,600 square foot addition. Otherwise, this business operates as it always has since approximately 1959. It has always included 2 apartments above the auto body shop. That was approved back again in 1964, and there are 2 apartments there today. The parking lot that you see remains the same. It's the same parking lot that's always serviced this business, and we comply with the parking ordinance. We have enough spaces between the spaces that are inside the building and the spaces outside the building to comply with the parking ordinance. This is entirely a pickup drop-off business, so there's really no need for customer parking and never has been over the course of the 60-plus years of the business's existence. It operates between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. on weekdays and 8 a.m. to noon on Saturdays. Again, those hours have been pretty much consistent for many decades. And right now there are approximately 8 employees, and those employees park in an adjacent parking lot, private parking lot, also owned by the owner of this property, so that they don't take up any spots on the parking lot on this site. As I noted, this is part of an upgrade of the interior of the building, mainly to bring it to present code, present building code, and the main focus of that is to have a proper fire suppression system, which has been installed throughout the entire building, including in the apartments. And so by doing that, we'll bring it up to the present standards for life safety that exist under today's building code. And with your approval and the completion of that work with the building department, we should be able to obtain a certificate of occupancy for this building. I would note that I received a letter dated April 26th from the Baldwin Chamber of Commerce. Although it's addressed to the zoning board, I think they meant to address the town board. And in sum and substance, it says that the Baldwin Chamber of Commerce, quote, wholeheartedly requests an approval of this application, and notes that the National Collision Company, which is the company that now operates the auto body repair shop, is a, quote, upstanding member of the Baldwin Chamber of Commerce who donates time giving back to the community and maintains a clean, responsible, and community-oriented business. We fully, in all capital letters, support this request. And that's signed by Eric Mahler, the president of the Baldwin Chamber of Commerce. So, again, we're looking to simply legalize that addition that's been on this building since the late 1970s and complete the process of bringing it up to code and obtaining a new certificate of occupancy for this business. And I would also note that you're all familiar with this area. You're probably familiar with this auto body shop as well. It's next to another auto body shop. It's across the street from a gas station. It's a fully commercial area, strip along Merrick Road. There are no single-family homes or homes of any other kind in the immediate vicinity.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
No, not unless you have any questions.
Okay, all right, hang out for a little bit and see what we can find out for you. Any member of the board wish to be heard on this? Any questions? Tommy?
I do have a question. My question is, in reference to insurance, do you have any open-ended insurance recommendations that haven't been done to date on that property with the insurance company that you presently have?
I'm not aware of any insurance issues.
And the other question is, do you have any spray booths in this operation?
There is a spray booth inside the building. It's been in the building for many decades, and it's been fully upgraded to present-day standards, and there are permits on file for the spray booth, including from the Nassau County Fire Marshal.
Okay, so if this gets approved, that will be upgraded also?
I believe it's already been upgraded.
Okay.
Again, the only thing here that we're seeking is basically a modification to the site plan to legalize that addition. The spray booth is actually inside that addition, which was put on in the late 70s.
That's that L-shaped you were talking about
That's
earlier?
the L-shaped addition, correct. Okay. That's what brings us
Was she
here.
the one who was talking about with the stripes? Remember we saw that?
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other board member wish to be heard on this? Okay, I don't have any slips on this. Does anybody in the public wish to be heard on this? Okay, Mr. Moderator, now is your chance.
Supervisor, no participant clicked raise your hand on this public hearing.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Brown. Do I have a motion on this then?
Thank you.
I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Esposito. Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Okay, Madam Clerk, would you please call the next item?
We have the application of 204F Realty LLC to reconfigure pump islands, erect a canopy over reconfigured pump islands, and convert service bays to convenience store and operate a self-service in Roosevelt.
Good morning. If you name and address again for the record.
Yes, good morning again. Kevin O'Brien from the office of O'Brien Law PC, 462 Sagamore Avenue, East Williston, New York. Here this morning representing the applicant, 204F Realty. Good morning, Mr. Supervisor, Senior Councilwoman Gooseby, Council, honorable members of the board, and Madam Clerk. Kevin O'Brien representing this particular applicant, who is also the owner of the property with respect to an existing gasoline service station located in Roosevelt on Babylon Turnpike. This is an application essentially seeking to include the subject premises within the GSS zoning district. The board may be familiar, with, of course, the regulations within the town of Hempstead, wherein in the 1970s it was required that service stations, so when the ordinance was initially adopted, that they be included into the GSS zoning district, which provides the town and the neighbors certain protections by being located within that zoning district. And there are probably a few straggler cases that are still out there, and this happens to be one of them. And generally, when one comes in before the board, seeking the board's, favorable discretion on something like that, usually there are certain upgrades that they're trying to make at the same time, which is the case here. From my review of the records, I see back in as early as the 1950s, the premises had operated as a gasoline service station, was seeking additional tanks at that time. And in my review of the records, you see, throughout the years, basically the removal and replacement of underground gasoline storage tanks at this location. They are fully compliant with respect to the underground storage tank system. So as part of the application, some of the modifications and improvements that we're seeking is a little modification of the existing pump islands over there. There are four dispensers. We'd be maintaining 4 dispensers. We'd like to erect a canopy over some of the pump islands, and to convert the repair bays, which haven't been operational in quite some time, into a convenience store, upgrading the landscaping as best we possibly can in around the area. The area is such that behind us there are There are apartments. Across the street from us is the post office. Down the block is the neighborhood pool. It's a mixture of, you've got shopping centers to the north, a mixed commercial, residential, business, retail, restaurant type of area. Like I said, the service station has existed in that area, since the 1950s. Similarly, it's an irregular shaped parcel, or triangular, if you will. So it's a little difficult sometimes with respect to, we similarly have a problem with respect to meeting the parking requirements. But once again, for these type of operations, unlike a repair-oriented or an auto body type of place where a vehicle would stay there for the entire day, here in this particular instance, people don't want to spend any more than 5 minutes typically at a place like this. So the pump islands themselves do similarly act as a parking space. We'd also like the ability to operate a self-service over here. We have been, plans have been submitted to the Fire Marshal's Office and Health Department in that regard to make sure that it meets all their criteria with respect to self-service operation, though we are mindful of the fact that typically we like to provide split island service, which would mean that for those patrons seeking to utilize full service between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., would be provided. Typically what's done is you have like a blue button or something like that on the side of one of the dispensers so somebody could push it and somebody would come out. But those are the sum and substances of the improvements. Similarly, this owner of this service station operates under the brand of Valero, and if you look at some of the Valeros that we've improved and built throughout the town, to me, once again, the landscaping is usually nothing short of spectacular, the jobs that they do over there, and they're just tremendous upgrades to the site. I think, we did one in Merrick not too long ago, and I just think it's a great improvement to the area, to the community, and we look for the board's favorable discretion. If there are any questions from either any of the board members or the public or any people online?
I know you're going to have a couple, and I appreciate it. Yeah, there's a Valero there now, right?
That is correct.
How many pumps are at the Valero?
There are 4.
So you want to do canopy, and how many pumps are going at the new one?
It's going to be the same thing. It's going to be 4. They're just going to be spread out, appropriately, but 4 existing and 4 will remain.
Are you reconfiguring the locations of them?
Just spreading it out a little bit.
A little bit more. And the post office is across the street, right?
Correct.
Okay. Let's see if any of the board members have any questions. Councilwoman?
First of all, it's in the back of that is the senior citizens building. That's on Babylon Turnpike, right?
That is correct.
Okay, and there's very little space in between. Is there any way you can put a fence there so that, it looks better than it looks now? It looks terrible. And I want to know if you have any open permits that have not been fulfilled?
Senior Councilwoman, if I understand the question correctly, and forgive me if I don't, but I believe you had asked if
did you not hear?
Fence in the back.
Okay.
And we could certainly absolutely put a fence. If you even want to tell me the type of fence you'd like over there, I will go with the type of fence that you would.
Well, something that looks good.
That you would like.
Yeah, you're right. 24 karat gold. We could have that too.
Yeah.
That would be okay.
Did I say within reason?
You open it up. I didn't.
You're 100% right. You're 100% right. I did. I put my mouth.
But I'm concerned with the open permits that you have. You have not, some things are open still. They have not been taken care of.
Well, actually, similarly, I think we had I think there was a little bit of plumbing issue. So we obtained the permit, to correct the plumbing issue that we had over there. And we just need to, it's a paperwork thing of closing out the actual permit. So that we're in the process of doing, and we're kind of hoping that we could possibly do all those things at the same time. But if we need to do them piecemeal, we'll certainly try. But yeah, we did obtain the permits. I think there was a heating system and something like that we had to do. obtain the permits, but you're correct, they have to be closed out, and we will certainly do that.
Okay. Well, when do you think you could have them done? When, by when?
Well, I will, and mindful of the fact that, you know, our engineers have been working remotely. I mean, the world has been a little upside down, but I got my design professional right over there, Kevin Papazian from B. Thayer Associates. They're the design professionals who worked on the project, been prepared. So you've been admonished, Mr. Papazian, that you got to get those permits closed out.
Well, I'm not going to do that. But what I want to say is, what I'm going to do is reserve decision on this at least until June 15th, so that you can have this done. If you have it done, everything ready, you can come back again on that time.
Okay.
All right? So that's going to be my recommendation.
Well, that's fair. We'll submit whatever it is that we have to submit to the building department. I'm sure they will assist us in accomplishing all our goals.
Well, you get that done. So until that time, I have reserved decision until June 15th. Oh, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Before we make the formal motion, are any of the other board members want to ask a question? I don't have any slips from the audience. Is there anybody in the audience who wants to make a question? And now I'll ask the moderator if anybody's raising their hand.
Supervisor, no participant clicked raise your hand on this public hearing.
Okay. Then if not, Councilwoman, you want to make a motion to adjourn until the 15th?
Yes, I make a motion to reserve decision until the 15th.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito. Aye. Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
I hope you have it when you come back.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Thank
See
you.
you on the 15th.
Yep, got it. Thank you so much. And once again, it's really nice to see you all.
That's correct.
That is correct. We should just. Madam Clerk, I think that is all for the hearings, if I'm correct.
Yes, you are correct.
So now the moderator will turn off the GoToWebinar. Anybody else who wishes to watch it, please go to the town website and watch it streaming. Madam Clerk, would you please call the administrative calendar?
We have items 11 through 73 on the administrative calendar.
Okay. Does anybody on the town board wish to be heard on the administrative calendar? Okay, I got a couple of slips on the administrative calendar. We'll start with Diane Madden. Morning, Ms. Madden. If you give your name and address for the record, please. Thank you.
Good morning, Diane Madden, Hempstead. Item number 64, the various jobs. I see that you're hiring someone at the animal shelter, and number one, I'm wondering who signs off on these hires?
The town board.
So town board does the interviewing and signing off on the hiring?
Mr. Salmon?
Excuse me?
Morning, Supervisor, members of the town board. Departments make recommendations with regard to personnel submitted to the town board for consideration.
So that would be who? Mr. Marino, Mr. Pastori?
Comes from the commissioner.
Okay. There are about a half a dozen cats and maybe 24 dogs in the animal shelter. It's a $4.5 million salary payroll. Why are you bringing in any further laborers into the animal shelter?
Mr. Salmon, are we bringing anybody else to the shelter? Good.
No, Supervisor, not that I'm aware of at the present time.
There was a laborer originally on the resolutions for the animal shelter. Has that been removed?
I believe that individual, yes, there was a typo on that resolution. It had her for the animal shelter. She's actually going to the Parks Department.
That's a real coincidence. Number 49, the issue about the recycling of the mattresses. Could someone please explain to me, I know there was a lot of controversy about this contract under Mr. Santino. Councilman Blakeman had some concerns about mattresses being picked up outside of the town. Those questions were never answered by Santino, nor were Councilman Blakeman's questions about the behaviorist contract for $109,000. But could someone explain to me what this is and what it entails?
What number are you referring to? Because you jumped around there. What number?
The sanitation company.
Number 49.
Sanitation Commissioner here?
So number,
Hold on.
is Councilman Blakeman still here? I know he had some questions, but can someone, again, explain to me what this resolution, the details?
Before, if the sanitation commissioner isn't available immediately, I can advise you that this is a contract for requirements. The mattresses are routinely disposed of by residents. Special pickup is often required to pick them up, and mattresses are unique in many respects. They aren't the same as ordinary matters that might have been even under quote-unquote special pickup. And this contract is designed to handle specifically the use of the mattresses so that they get disposed of properly. It's a common matter within municipal law and within municipal governance to have someone handle specifically the pickup and retrieval of mattresses. They're often identified as a particularized item for which there are particularized and specialized rules.
I don't doubt that, thank you. I was wondering, though, are the mattresses picked up outside of Hempstead at all?
This contract would not include picking up contracts outside of the town of Hempstead. This is
So does the town pick up mattresses outside of the town of Hempstead?
not to my knowledge, Ms. Madden.
Okay, thank you. Number 32, could someone please tell me about this agreement with Connoisseur Media, and who exactly are they?
Good morning, all. I'm Greg Blower, Director of Communications. Connoisseur Media is WHLI, and they provided us with net rates, which I'll thank the supervisor and the board, and which saves the taxpayers money from rather paying gross rates if an agency were to buy the radio time. It's a bunch of radio stations that cover the town of Hempstead, and it was for our vaccination van promotion.
I'm sorry, but I really can't hear you.
Oh, sorry, okay. It was for the vaccination van advertising on radio. Connoisseur Media is WHLI and WBZO.
Okay, so that is for advertising for the town, for Supervisor Clavin.
That was for the vaccination van availability with Dr. Dave on to let people know that we have a vaccination van available throughout the town.
That's the van that goes around, vaccinates, gives the, goes to different locations, senior centers and various communities for giving the distribution. It's the first one in New York State.
Right, the taxpayers have paid for that, I understand. Thank you.
We're big into helping people and saving lives.
If you wanted to help people, you'd keep your campaign promises. Have a nice day.
But I'd like for her to know that mainly in my district, in my councilman district alone, we have almost 20,000 people who have the virus. And because of that, I asked them to do this so that we could get it to people who cannot get to it, that were not getting taken care of in my district. So that's one of the reasons we have that van. And it's been going around, and it's going to people who cannot get out, who do not have computers. If they had them, they wouldn't know how to use them. So it's really been very effective in my councilman at District Number 1. I'm sure you don't have that in your area, but I have it in mine. And I'm concerned because there are 20,000 people who have the virus.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I know you have a tremendous influence on the board, and I wish you would use that influence to...
I would like to echo what the senior councilwoman said. I've had the town of Hempstead Mount Sinai van in my district on multiple occasions, and there are certain people who were notified through our public service announcements that we've done. So we want to reach as many people as possible and vaccinate as many people as possible. So it's been very effective in my district as well.
Yes, I'm glad. That's exactly what you're supposed to be doing. I believe you have Federal CARES Act money. I thank you for that. But as I was saying, Councilwoman Gooseby, I wish you'd use that influence to encourage the supervisor to keep his promises. This is campaign season after all, and it's not just COVID that should be politicized, but the animal shelter is in worse shape than it's ever been in, and I would appreciate your influence to try to get that fixed. Thank you.
Okay. Next I have speaker is Felix Procacci. Morning, Mr. Procacci. If you give your name and address for the record, thank you.
Felix Procacci, Franklin Square. Administrative calendar on the Franklin Square Park District. I don't know what the number is, where you're appropriating fund balance, increasing appropriations, estimated revenues, capital outlay, and state aid. As you know, and I spoke on this a couple of times already, many times through the years, and I foiled this information, the Franklin Square Park District, among all the other park districts, as well as a lot of all these special districts within the town, the budgets have a lump sum called interfund appropriated costs, which is unspecific, and when foiled, there were no records found. What you should be doing is you're breaking these things down with, state aid and appropriations and fund balance. You should be breaking down that apportioned costs so people understand how that money is being spent. And still with this resolution, it's unclear. As for the items number 31 and 32 on the communications, all you are doing is passing a very general resolution. You should put some dollars behind that and where the funds are coming from, because your resolutions don't really tell the public anything. So it's going to some radio station, and those advertisements should not include your name or any other council person's name, because the money did not come from you raising taxes, it came from federal funds. So just make that clear. And FOIL requests for these advertising dollars that I foiled back in December no one has responded to my FOIL request, and maybe somebody here, if they want to interrupt me and tell me where my FOIL is and when it's going to be processed, you could let me know. Finally, items 62 and 63, there's general fund revenues having to do with the CARES Act. What is that money going to be used for? What's those resolutions for? Because once again, they're so general, so vague, I have no idea.
Which one numbers are you talking
62 and 63.
Mr. Mastromarino?
Yes, sir. What those are is just a clarification of a fiscal year. The CARES money makes no reference to a particular year. It's a 2-year period. The original entries, the original town board resolutions had set up the appropriate revenue and expense for 2020, but the grants were made in 21. So all we're doing is saying, okay, instead of it being a 2020 item, it's a 2021 item instead of a 2020 item. That's all this is doing. It's just correcting a particular year, our fiscal year, and where the grant was.
Okay.
Also on that measure, just stay right there.
Well, I'm sorry. Hold on. Thank you, Mr. Mastromarino. You could.
Well, I'm
please
going to need
have a
him
seat.
again.
Well, I know, but you just have to be a little nicer about it.
I'll try to be like you, okay? This money, once again, my FOIL request back on August 4th, at the first meeting that was open to the public after the pandemic, Master Marino said that I would be able to FOIL how the money is being spent. So far, I have FOILs going back to September 9th, things that have to do with general funds expenditures going to January that I still haven't gotten the details for. There's no clue. I read everything that you send me. There is no clue on how this money is being spent from the data that received, and in some cases, I've received absolutely no data.
Okay, I'll take it under advisement. I'll ask the town attorney,
Take it
but
under advisement.
I do appreciate you acknowledging you did receive some documentation, but we'll take it under advisement. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
Clear. I'll be like you.
Okay, I don't have any other slips on the administrative calendar. Does anybody else here today wish to be heard? Great. If you could just gone up to the mic and give your name and address, we appreciate it. Good morning. If you just give your name and address for the record. Thanks.
Good morning, James B. Jacobs, Uniondale resident. Good morning, Senior Constable Gooseby, Supervisor Claver, and the people on the board. I appreciate Phyllis Picacci's question, because I had the same question myself. Because under the CARES Act, isn't it supposed to be some kind of accountability when it goes into general funds, like when the money is being dispensed to and who's receive it? Because the way it's written here is very vague and looks like there's no accountability once the fund is dispersed from general funds. And as a taxpayer, I feel I should have the right to know at least where them funds are being sent to and who's receiving them.
Yeah, actually, we've done a resolution on every expenditure. It's been open. It's actually been acknowledged by the News Editorial Board that we've been open and transparent on this matter. And we have, in fact, not only an internal system, but we actually sent it down to a D.C. firm. But every single dollar that's ever been expended has been open and has been a public hearing.
Can I ask the question? Sure. You know, there's some place I can go to actually view, because on the CARES, doesn't it go to certain services and certain things for the local residents? Those have signed. For those that suffer some kind of hardship because of the pandemic?
You have to repeat the question. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll speak a little slower and a little bit louder. Under the CARES Act, isn't it designated for like the PPE equipment and other equipment that people who have been Uniondale that suffer some kind of hardship that they're supposed to assist them in the hardship? For example, when it was sent to the town of Hempstead to go into general funds, that it's supposed to help the residents and the neighbors in the town of Hempstead. Is that
I think, I'm sorry, Supervisor, I think that...
Yes, Mr. Esposito, what is your point, sir?
My point is the following. Thank you for the introduction. Like Supervisor Clavin mentioned, since the beginning, this town board has been completely open and transparent with the way they spent every dime of the CARES funding, whether it was providing PPE to our local fire departments and ambulance corps, whether it was providing PPE to local villages, whether it was providing PPE kits with thermometers and hand sanitizer and critical things that businesses needed not only to reopen but stay open so that not only their customers were safe but their employees were safe. That wasn't just in one single community. That was in every community throughout the town of Hempstead, from Inwood to Levittown, from Point Lookout all the way up to Hempstead. I mean, it was everywhere in between. We also provided testing for thousands upon thousands of town of Hempstead residents, not just in certain communities, but in every community. Now we're using the funding to make sure that those that are in need are getting vaccinated. We've been in communities, I think, in the first month that we've been in service, we've been in Councilwoman Goosby's district probably more than the others. And why? Because there was a need there for people to get vaccinated, people that weren't able to get into a car and travel to a doctor's office or travel to a hospital. We brought the vaccinations to them. Again, fully transparent. We provided funding to our colleges. We provided funding to local hospitals to make sure that they provided what was needed to those who were suffering from COVID. So this wasn't about one specific community. This wasn't about a community in Councilman D'Esposito's district. This wasn't about a community in Councilman Blakeman's district. This wasn't a single community in Councilman Dunn's district. This was an effort to make sure that every town of Hempstead community, the nearly 800,000 residents that live here and the other hundreds of thousands that work here, were taken care of. And I think we've done a tremendous job, especially when there are municipalities that are only blocks away who received over $100 million in CARES funding, and you never once heard a meeting as to how that money was spent.
And just so you know,
just a minute.
And just so you know, in addition, the resolutions showing the spending are listed on the town's website, including the grants and the amounts of each of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all out there for everyone to see, and it has been out there. We've really been fairly, I think, real diligent on wanting to be very open and transparent on this matter. And you know what? And we're grateful, because what just happened a month and a half ago, Nassau County got a $500 million, with a B, $billion, but our local U.S. Senator and our entire congressional delegation actually voted to give the town of Hempstead another appropriation. So it shows that even the folks down in D.C., you know what? They know we do it right here. They even voted to send us more, and we're hoping that Nassau County will lend a helping hand with the $500 million they're receiving as well.
And don't forget, listen, and don't forget the fact that we provided food for everybody. I had 3 pop-ups in my area. I had pop-ups in Uniondale, pop-ups in Roosevelt. All of them got, and we had it in Powell on 104 Nassau Road. So, and I stood up there with my cane providing all of this help. We provided them for churches as well. Churches, anyone who needed, we asked them to come. It went into Uniondale. You had a Chamber of Commerce who came here and picked it up, and others as well. So anybody who says that, all the schools too, they got everything we could give them. So we provided money for every school here in the town of Hempstead. They all got money. The fire departments, we asked them, only 2 departments did not, because I asked them, they didn't have anybody to send in for it. They came in after December. After December, that portion was gone. But I asked them, I called, they didn't have anyone to send in for it. You have to prepare. You have to ask for it. We have one other person now that we're going to take care of because she did ask for it. She was on the end, and I know she needs it because she's feeding children and some of the parents who come into her area, and she needs a freezer. So we are doing a lot of things. People call us constantly for that. And you can go on the website and find it. It's on there because everything was published. And Mr. Patak, he knows that. But he'd like to come here and do what he's doing. So, and also, everything we can do, we have done it because I know what it's like for people not to have food and not to have shelter. We provided money for that, too. So anybody who tells you that, don't listen. Go on the website. You'll find it. It's there.
Sir, if you wanted to be cynical, you only need to look at what the county did not do with their CARES Act money versus what we did do. I totally concur with what Senior Councilman Gooseby and Councilman Anthony Desposito said, and I would also include, I think, we also gave money to libraries to keep them operating so that they had the necessary resources to educate our young people and to give our other homeowners an opportunity to be able to access the libraries during COVID-19. So if you look at what we spent the money on and what we did the money in every community versus what the county did not do, I think that you would see that they took a very cynical approach in the county versus what we did in the town.
May I speak now? I thank you for all the information and campaign speeches. I really do appreciate that. All I asked was a simple question, but it's okay. It's okay. Everybody made their point. But my thing as a resident of Uniondale, proud member of Uniondale, all I ask was fairness, okay? And when you do the gas station, and when you also do the gas station and everything else, make sure it's EPA compliant, because we get tired of being dumped on and wasted upon, and then when people only come to us when they need us when it's campaign season. But thank you for that.
Thank you very much. I don't have any other slips, and I don't have anybody else in the audience that'd like to be heard. Sure, if you're going up to the mic and give your name and address, that'd be great.
You're welcome.
I'm going to spray the mic because this is the first time I saw it getting clean.
Just so you know, it's actually been clean between every speaker. He's very diligent about spraying it down.
Thank you, sir, for wiping it just now. This is the first time I saw it wiped after 10 people got up here. I want to say, okay, I'm not talking about following the money.
I don't know what you're talking
on this
about.
Issue.
Excuse me,
don't try to talk over me, Mr. Blakeman. Let me speak. Let me speak, and don't be rude. I'm not being rude to you. I'm not being rude. Okay, don't speak over me. I will speak, and then you will respond. Okay? And I don't care how you respond, but I will speak. Regarding the vaccinations in Uniondale, I'm not speaking of funding. I'm not speaking where the money went. I don't care about that because money doesn't come to Uniondale like it should, and that's a fact. I live in Uniondale. I know. Regarding the vaccinations, with this van going around, okay, the bottom line is February, March, senior citizens were calling me, literally crying on the phone, It broke my heart because they had no access to get a vaccination. They had no technology. They didn't know how to maneuver the system. They were literally crying on the phone, okay? I have empathy for everyone, but primarily I have empathy for children and seniors who cannot help themselves. I reached out to Senator Thomas. I would like to publicly put this on record that Senator Thomas came through for Uniondale when it came to the vaccinations.
Speaking of campaign speeches.
Well, I'm not campaigning for him. I'm just telling you the truth. I don't campaign for anyone.
Well, can I ask you a question, Ms. Jacobs? Ms. Jacobs, can I ask you a question? Councilman Carini, how much money did the state Senate delegation, the New York State Senate get in CARES funding?
I don't care about
Zero.
Well, I care.
They provided
No, how much did they receive?
$2 billion.
How much?
$2 billion.
$2 billion with a B.
And they provided
$2 billion with a B. So you know what? If Senator Thomas stepped up, he should have. He had $2 billion to spend.
You know what? He came to Uniondale and he vaccinated the seniors in Uniondale, and that's all I have to say. For you taking credit with sending a van around 60 days after they came into Uniondale, that's not the truth. He came and he vaccinated.
You do realize that there's protocol that has to be gone through. And you know what? If Senator Thomas and the Senate delegation was so concerned about people receiving vaccinations, they could have enabled us to get approved quicker by the New York State Department of Health, and we could have put that truck on the road quicker. And I'm going to say one more thing that this is probably not known to many, but you know what? The town of Hempstead, under the leadership of Supervisor Clavin, has been working over the last 2 months with our town of Hempstead EMS so that we can bring the vaccinations to homebound people. And you know what? You know where our hiccup is? Is that we can't get the vaccine from the Nassau County Department of Health.
That's not my issue.
It is your issue because you live in Uniondale and you're worried about vaccinations.
And he came through. You can take all the credit.
Ms. Jacobs, Ms. Jacobs, the Senate delegation, how much did they contribute to local fire departments for PPE?
Do you think?
Anthony Desposito, do you know how much?
About that. I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about vaccinations now. And do you think that everyone in Uniondale needs food? That's all they need is food? They don't need only food. They need vaccinations. They need investment. We need investment in our community. Okay, it's not food that we need.
I'd like to respond to what you had to say because I really think it's very, very inaccurate. You talked about this.
I live in Uniondale, so you can't tell me what's accurate and what's not. I live there, and I'm not a liar.
Earl, may I finish? I didn't call you a liar.
Well,
okay, I said that you may not have all the facts, that they may be inaccurate. So here's what the facts are. The facts are that people in your community begged the county executive to open the Coliseum for vaccines, and she did not do it. That we were ahead of the curve with respect to doing vaccinations locally here in the town before the county. That, by the way, the fact is this, you stated all of the senior citizens that called up and people that were invalids that called up requesting vaccines. That's exactly why we chose to do it through a van, so we could go to the people, so we could go to the senior citizens, so we could go to the people that were infirm or invalids that couldn't get out of their houses, and we came to them. We came to senior citizen centers. We went to nursing homes. We went to every place that we were invited to go to throughout the town. So what you're saying is completely inaccurate. We were responsive. We were the ones that were responsive to the people who could not get out of their home. Pearl, I'm speaking. I'll give you your chance.
You came 6 weeks after Senator Thomas came and vaccinated Uniondale. 6 weeks after.
We had to go through a process of accreditation for our van. If it were expedited, we would have been able to do it sooner.
Credit where credit's not due. This is all campaigning. There should be term limits because people that sit here, they make it a career, okay? They don't do anything for their communities, and we suffer. We suffer for it. I don't suffer like other people in Uniondale suffer.
Ms. Jacobs, you do realize that the first day that our vaccination bus was in operation, which we were able to vaccinate, I think, about 150 people, it was actually parked directly in the center of Uniondale at the Uniondale Senior Center. I guess the facts don't matter, right? Because Kevin Thomas wasn't there, it doesn't matter? Okay.
I would just like to point out that, the state with over $2.5 billion provided zero relief to our fire departments, PPE equipment, zero reimbursement to our local school districts, zero reimbursement to our local libraries. Our first responders, our firemen, were on the front lines during this pandemic. And you want to point out Thomas and Vice Senator Brooks, who was nowhere during the beginning of this pandemic. We were there assisting the first responders. We were assisting the school districts. We were assisting the local library districts. Thank you.
And I'm going to close it up. I just want to say thank you to Senator Schumer. I like saying thank you to Senator Schumer. He's actually been a good friend of the town and a lot of people out here, and he's done a tremendous job. And I will say this wholeheartedly. U.S. Senator Schumer, in a very bipartisan manner, really helped a lot of people in New York State and across the island. And we owe a lot of gratitude to him, and I'll say that because he's done a tremendous job. He's been a good friend to the town, to the counties, to all the municipalities across. So you know what? That's something we all appreciate here on the town board, is somebody working and putting politics aside and recognizing you want to help people. You work together, and we don't argue. So that's a good thing. So with that, I don't have any other slips on this portion of the meeting. Anybody else at the town board wish to be heard on this?
Well, I must say one thing.
Yes, ma'am.
I must say that I heard from Senator Thomas only after I had gotten help from the governor's office. Andrew called my office. I think we sent about 600 people to get vaccination because we had no other place to do it. But they called us, and when he called us, we were able to do it. After I had completed that, then I heard later, after Senator Thomas had called you, and only people in Uniondale could come to get it. But he gave it to me, so I sent people wherever I could to be able to get from my office. I did that. I never heard from Senator Thomas except the one time after he had called your office, called you, and let you have them. We did not get vaccine from anyone else. Once we got our bus, how long did we have that bus? Once we got the bus, we started going around. So we've done people in Uniondale throughout. So it's not a thing to argue about. What we want to do is make sure we get the people, because I'm concerned when I have 20,000 people in my one district. They don't care about what we're doing, the argument. I care about them getting the vaccine. So thank you for what you did, and thank you finally, Senator Thomas, for what he did for you. That's great. So I have nothing to say except I just want this virus to go, and I want everybody to get it. And there are people who are hungry, many of them. If you don't, I go around to the entire communities. I know what's going on, and I'm sure you do too where you are. But I have all of them. I care for people, and that's what's important to me. So all of this doesn't matter as long as we get it to the people.
I'd just like to say something in reference to, thank you for bringing up the hardship of Uniondale. But the CARES money was given to different forms of government for one purpose, and that's to prevent government from failing. And it was the government is a safety net to the communities, and it was given to the town of Hempstead, it was given to Nassau County, it was given to the state. And I don't want to say this, but there was one President of the United States said that the local government is the best form of government. And the town of Hempstead did provide a lot of services for the churches, for the schools, for EMS, for the colleges on the local level. And the CARES money helped us as a safety net for the town of Hempstead to provide essential services to prevent the hardship from the top down. On the personal level, yes, the government has provided individual taxation refunds to prevent that other hardship. But I think we're confusing the state, the local government, and we did do a I want to thank the town board, Don Clavin, and everybody else for the job that they did in reference to using, allocating, and showing what we did with that money, the CARES money. Thank you.
Well, now that the formal town board meeting has been adjourned, the town board will remain to listen to comments from residents. And we will start with... Oh, I'm sorry, we need a motion.
I make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
Wait.
Oh, hold on.
Excuse me, Supervisor, we need a motion to adopt the...
We didn't do the administrative calendar? Oh, I can't believe it. Holy cow. Well, I have a motion, please.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Well, now that the formal portion of the town board meeting has been adjourned, now the town board will remain to listen to the comments of the residents.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Oh, I tell you right now. You know, Councilwoman, you get one more motion.
I did. Okay, I make a motion that we leave. It's time. Everything is over. I think we had enough for one day.
Supervisor Clavin.
I vote to adjourn.
Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Carini. Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Okay, now that the formal town board meeting has been adjourned, and the town board will remain to hear comments, and Councilwoman, I'm a little out there today. It's Kitty's birthday, so I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do Kitty's 14th birthday today. So we're going to remain to listen to residents here. So why don't we start with Maria Mel. Maria, you here? If you come on up to the mic, give your name and address for the record.
Maria.
Good morning.
Good morning, Oceanside. Today I would like to bring some issues about the Freedom of Information Law, and I know that everyone is familiar with it, but I want to read it first anyway. The Freedom of Information Law expressly preserves the right of access to records. Section 84, Legislative Declaration reads, "The legislature hereby finds that the free society is maintained when government is responsive and responsible to the public, and when the public is aware of governmental actions. The more open a government is with its citizenry, the greater the understanding and participation of the public in government. The people's right to know the process of governmental decision-making and to review the documents and statistics leading to determinations is basic to our society. Access to such information should not be thwarted by shrouding it with a cloak of secrecy or confidentiality, as Town Hempstead does. The legislature, therefore, declares that government is the public's business and that the public, individually and collectively, and represented by a free press, should have access to the records of government in accordance with the provisions of this article." And the next provision, 85, short title, "This article shall be known and may be cited as the Freedom of Information Law." So now I'm going to go to my facts and questions. I would like to know what the town of Hempstead is doing regarding total redaction of FOIL documents like this, black. Every single place for an answer is black. And what is the basis for this heavy redaction? Well, obviously, other than concealing, which is not a legitimate purpose. And also, I would like to talk about the town of Hempstead habitual resistance to produce FOIL documents as non-existent when they were previously partially provided. And they, at that time, invoked falsely privacy rights. And so whose privacy rights is the town of Hempstead preserving when it comes to animals-related questions? That's absolutely ridiculous for such denials to be for privacy. So, and this applies both to the record access officer and to the appellate attorney. And I'd like to know, how are they held accountable when they deny, frivolously deny FOIL requests without reason or justification? As to the appellate FOIL officers, they are sworn officers of the court.
Thank you very much, and I'll take it under advisement. Jonas, I'll make a listing of that. Thank you very much. Next, I have Stuart Crow, and thank you for wiping it down yet again. Morning, still morning, Mr. Crow. Your name and address for the record.
Stuart Crow, Great Neck. We have now entered into May, and the shelter is still closed to the public. How is that possible when every other facility is now open to some capacity? Next week at the Cradle of Aviation Museum, we are having an in-person lecture with a space shuttle astronaut. We'll be hosting approximately 100 people. Is it not safe for anyone to enter the town shelter, or perhaps could it be the more time goes on, the more money is thrown back into the general fund? More than 50% of the population has now gotten at least one shot, 40% have been fully vaccinated. The safety excuse is now beyond pathetic. Any individual with a modicum of intelligence realizes, Mr. Clavin, that all safety protocols have been broken by you at every opportunity. How many photos need to be shown where you are maskless with no social distancing? Perhaps the town doctor can weigh in on these actions. I understand that a few select volunteers will now be allowed to walk dogs. They apparently will not be allowed into the shelter. Incidentally, I think I saw 12 cats on the website this morning. You have a $5.5 million budget, but are still fixing 15 cats a week, approximately, at Hempstead and an additional 15 at Central Vet. That is an achievement that should live in infamy. All About Cats had a clinic on Sunday and fixed 72 cats. This is a horrible kitten season. Obviously, nobody on this board cares. In large point, we blame the back and made no attempt to stop the blatant suffering that these cats endure on the street. Instead, you have turned a blind eye and assumed that the majority of people can be fooled over and over again. It's been true, it's worked pretty well so far. This is becoming less and less true, however, as evidenced by Santino being voted out, Gillen serving one term, and I have a feeling the hat trick is rapidly approaching. The town of Hempstead has now shown that sensitive positions, such as an animal consultant behaviorist are given out according to being a friend of a cousin or some other thing of that nature. The ramification of this corruption is you get an employee, Ms. Fonte, who lied about the majority of her qualifications, as opposed to the other candidate who was fully qualified. The tragic result of this was a dog was adopted out that shouldn't have been. The new owner was badly hurt, and a large lawsuit has been filed against the town. Effective in 2 weeks, Cuomo has lifted most indoor capacity limits. Larger venues, such as museums, can now host 250 people. Animals cannot get the care they deserve and that we are paying for because you choose to continue this pathetic charade. The venue we are now occupying will also have no capacity limits aside from 6 feet social distancing. Every town shelter that I am aware of is open in some significant capacity. I'm going to do the town, I'm sure you'll be very happy to hear this, I'm going to do the town of Hempstead a very big favor. Since we all want the highest possible voter turnout with an election rapidly approaching in 6 months, I'm going to help orchestrate a voter registration drive aimed at registering the least affluent living in the town of Hempstead. And I have a very good idea where I can find a grant for this most valuable project.
Okay. Next, we're going to bring up Felix Procacci. And again, thank you for wiping that down yet again.
Felix Procacci, Franklin Square. I have 8 outstanding FOIL requests, 4 of which Don Durham, the FOIL appeals officer, promised that I would get some sort of response by mid-April, and it's May 4th, and I haven't gotten anything. You could take that under advisement. And also, you could take this under advisement. If the people want to do what you just said as far as going to the website and look up every federal CARES resolution and subtract the money, they'll find out that probably over 60 million, probably over 70 million has not been spent yet. So that's just facts that doing what you said, people can find out those facts. Now I have a question. What is the status of my ethics inquiry? No one going to answer?
What was your question?
What's the status of my ethics inquiry?
I'll relay along to our town attorney and take it under advisement, and we'll follow up after the meeting.
Well, he was supposed to respond last time, but he had a family issue.
No, he didn't have a family issue. He had an untimely passing.
Well, that's a family issue.
I know, but to be a little sensitive, please.
Okay.
Mr. Procacci, I'm not even sure that this is the right forum to be responding to the request, but since you did ask a couple of times, I'd be happy to give you a response. At the ethics meeting that was held last quarter, your ethics complaint was acknowledged for all the members, and at the next ethics meeting, it will be addressed directly. And that's about all I can tell you. As you know, ethics complaints, while they're being reviewed by the committee, have to remain confidential.
Okay.
The fact that you made the ethics complaint doesn't have to be confidential, but in response to your question, I could only say it was acknowledged to all members of the ethics board, and it was determined that it will be on our agenda for the next ethics
quarter. So you're talking about something that involves, at most, 95 words, and the interpretation of our compliance officer on these 95 words, which he truncated, I think it was 88 of those words in his, and didn't even want to explain to me when I asked him to explain his result back 2 years ago. This can't be done, and now you're going to extend this for 6 months when I made this inquiry December 31st, 2020. So you're going to just make it clear that you're going to now push this off for another 3 months.
Mr. Procacci, you see, what I just told you, and I said this may not be the right forum, but I wanted to be fair and reasonable and try to acknowledge something for you. An ethics complaint comes in, it's confidential. The discussions by the ethics board about the ethics complaint and the object of the ethics complaint or the subject are confidential. You're now revealing publicly what the nature of the complaint is. And I would point out, as a hypothetical, that if your ethics complaint is you don't agree with the job that somebody did, That is not an ethics issue. It's not an ethics issue at all. But I will say nothing more other than that I have tried very hard to acknowledge, A, the existence of your complaint, which is all I can do, and I went further as to say it will be addressed at the next meeting of the Ethics Board. More than that, I cannot tell you.
Well,
and I would ask you to respect that these things are done in a confidential setting.
Mr. Wildig was supposed to put on the website, according to the compliance officer's law, which is on the website, because I read the website and I read the laws, he was supposed to have it done by December 2019. He was supposed to have that thing. If you go to my complaint, the compliance officer's complaint I issued to him back in 2019, you will see that it's still pending. 2019, number 8. I'm number 8. It's still pending after going on a year and a half after he was supposed to post it on the website, according to the compliance officer's law, which is a public. This is all public information that I've been bringing to, and you guys swore an oath to uphold town law. And this is town law, and you're not upholding it. Upon receipt of a complaint by any person allegedly a violation of this chapter, you're supposed to immediately respond to it according to the ethics law. Once again, you're not following your law. Now you're going to take 6 months, and you want me to understand that. Tell everyone that if you make a complaint, it'll take 6 months to get an answer from you.
Thank you, Mr. Bacacci, and thank you, Ms. Nocella, for your very concise and brief remarks. Next, I'm going to bring up, I have it, there are 2 people listed on it. I think it's, first we'll start with Pearl Jacobs. Good afternoon, Ms. Jacobs. Name and address?
Pearl Jacobs, President of Nostrand Garden Civic Association, Uniondale.
Thank you.
I'm going to speak today regarding visual pollution. I will mention the issue earlier today, 576 Uniondale Avenue, because I, was prepared to come and speak about that today, but I'm happy that's going to be demolished very soon. Visual pollution is an aesthetic issue and refers to the impacts of pollution that impairs one's ability to enjoy a pleasant view. Visual pollution disturbs the visual areas of people by creating harmful changes in the natural environment. Visual pollution harms the visual area of human beings, such as eyes and visual memory, by making the environmental unnatural or negative. It distracts the human mind, and in a way, it can be harmful to mental health. Abandoned and vacant lots fall under the category of visual pollution. Vacant lots lower the quality of life in communities and decreases property values. It is visually evident that racial disparities exist concerning visual pollution in Nassau County. As I drive throughout the town of Hempstead, it is clearly visible that communities located in Councilmanic District 1 suffers disproportionately from visual pollution as vacant lots, litter, signage, compromised utility poles permeate the landscape. A short walk from Uniondale over to our neighboring community of East Meadow, there exists a vast difference in the look of these 2 communities. Abandoned lots have been swiftly replaced by medical facilities, eateries, upscale service stations, and even animal urgent care centers. And by the way, Uniondale is a medical desert. We do not have one urgent care center for people or animals. The insensitivity of local administration is indeed one primary cause of visual pollution. This brings me to one site in Uniondale, an abandoned and blighted lot that has been left to languish in the community for several years. This blighted corner property located at the intersection of Uniondale and Jerusalem Avenues is beyond an eyesore and is highly suspected to be a brownfield site. The address, of course, that we spoke about earlier was 576 Uniondale Avenue. The community of Uniondale has only 3 main roads, and there are at least 4 abandoned lots. I would say that Uniondale suffers from visual pollution saturation. Since 576 Uniondale Avenue, by far is the most concerning property. I went on to suggest that the council invoke eminent domain, but we can use that for the other abandoned lots in Uniondale, okay?
Okay.
Uniondale residents are extremely concerned.
Thank you,
about
Ms.
the
Jacobs.
quality of
You,
the life in Uniondale. Eminent domain can also be.
Ms. Jacobs, what I appreciate you doing is if you could, I know what you wrote down, if you could forward the email to us as well so we can look at it. But I know you hit the 3 minutes, but it's typed up. If you want to send it to us so we can review it, and I appreciate that.
I have a question to my councilwoman, please.
No, the 3 minutes, we're gonna go to the next one. Next, Ms. Jacobs.
I would like to respond. First of all, I am very disappointed that you never mentioned the fact that the internationally known crown jewel of Uniondale, the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum, is being wasted because this administration in the county has not stepped forward with any plan to reinvigorate that particular venue and was basically absent when discussions were held whether or not it would be better for us to renovate the Coliseum rather than build a new arena. You were absolutely silent in that, and that boggles my mind because, to me, it's very troubling what has taken place in Uniondale by this county administration with respect to allowing that beautiful venue to go to waste.
So, Mr. Blakeman, Councilman Blakeman, I'm going to call you the spin doctor, okay?
Okay, Ms. Jacobs, I'm going to let you do the thing. Please, we don't have to, none of us have to yell. So what we're going to do is, next I'm going to call up Mr. Jacobs. You're next, but if you give it a second. Thank you very much. Hold on, Mr. Jacobs. He's got to spray the mic, so just hold on for a second.
James, you can carry on for me, okay? There's two union.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobs.
The other side of Union.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobs.
I'm talking about the residential area of Union,
Okay.
south of Hempstead Turnpike.
Thank you, Ms.
There's no
Jacobs.
investment where there
Respectfully.
are abandoned lights and blight, okay?
Thank you. If you can hold on for 1 second. Thank you. Mr. Jacobs, if you just give your name and address to the record. Thank you.
James B. Jacob, 568 Ashcourt, Uniondale resident. When I came up here before, I asked a simple question. I was attacked, but that's okay. And Mr. Bleakman, you spoke about the library. They're still waiting for the check at Uniondale Library when I last checked. See, here's the thing. When people come up here, because you're well-educated people, and we ask simple questions, if you disagree with what we're thinking about in our opinion, I respect that. But because this is a campaign year and you're attacking people because they ask for clarification because they understand that not everybody's computer literate, not everybody has vast resources.
Excuse me, sir, nobody attacked you.
Yes, you did, but it's okay.
No,
you made a comment about the library and to get a check for the CARES Act, but it's okay. It's okay. I got my big boy pants on.
Gave you a laundry list.
Overtalk me. Go ahead. Go ahead and overtalk me.
Councilman D'Esposito gave you a laundry list. He didn't attack you. He gave you a laundry list of things that the town did with the CARES Act money, from food pantries to vaccinations to testing to assistance to local colleges to assistance to libraries. That's exactly what he said. Nobody attacked you.
Oh, so the comment about the library and getting a check but you didn't receive, and he listened along the list that Mr. Phil Pichaki did a follow request on about how the money is actually being spent from general funds. But I guess there's a misinterpretation because, see, when I talk to somebody in the conversation, there's a respect and exchange of ideas. We don't gang up one individual just to attack and make them feel belittled and out of place and not welcoming the institution supposed to be open to the public. But that's okay.
Mr. Jacobs,
it's okay. It's okay.
If you
made your point, you don't want people to come here and express themselves. I get it. You want to make people feel that they don't belong here. I get it. But guess what? I know there's a higher power in God that will straighten everything out, and I'm good with that. Because all we ask for the clarification of item 147, 62, and 63 about how the money being spent from the CARES Act. If you don't want to say that the $5.5 million, so be it. But it's okay. Because I'm just an everyday Joe with no title, just trying to earn a living, living in Union, raise my kids, and have a good life. But that's okay.
Mr. Jacobs, nobody was looking, let me just finish. Nobody was looking to attack you. You asked questions about the CARES money, and I stated what the town of Hempstead and this administration has done and where others have failed. That's what I tried to point out. When Ms. Jacobs got up and stated that the town has done nothing for the people of Uniondale, but one individual who represents them in the state Senate swooped in and saved the day, I wanted to make sure that we set the record straight.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby works hard day and night to make sure that the people of Uniondale and her district are taken care of, and especially in this case where it came to vaccinations. I was in those meetings as well as the supervisor with members of the South Nassau administration, and one of the first things that was brought up, Supervisor Clavin could correct me if I'm wrong, was from Senior Councilwoman Gooseby, who stated very clearly, I am in favor of this vaccination bus, but when it starts and its first day on the road, it better be in my district and it better be in Uniondale. Those are the exact words. Supervisor, am I lying?
I will tell you, that is the absolute truth, that when we did the meeting and talked about it, the councilwoman said, it's got to be in our district first, and she's very dedicated.
So if you took that as an attack, I do apologize, but I was clearly stating the facts, and I wanted to make sure, just like you said, there's a mutual respect. We're not going to sit up here and be made punching bags for things that we've done correctly. And the way we've spent this CARES funding has been done correctly, and it's been done for the best interest of every resident of the town of Hempstead.
May I speak? I just want one quick point.
A minute, 18 seconds. Go ahead.
Thank you. Just say one quick comment about the Coliseum. There was different issues about the Coliseum, about that I ain't gonna call it entity, but you know what I'm speaking about. And for the record, the people in Uniondale do understand, and that's Coliseum belongs in Union. So Sloan Clan, all the rest of the people on Museum Road. But that's another issue for another day. But here's the thing, Mr. Zito, thank you for that, because as an officer, I respect you and everything else. I get that, but here's the thing: when average Joe or Jane come up here, you don't have to agree with the policy that they're speaking about. To give them the respect of them and the difference of opinion what the council has, okay? Because everybody's up for election, and once they get elected, we'll see their true color. Whether they really be for Uniondale or will they be against it. And not just Uniondale, Hempstead, Freeport, Levittown, and the rest of the things like that. Because there is a disparity in the Nassau County. When you look at the street condition, you look at the school funding, everything else, it is disparity and segregation and everything else. That's my humble opinion. I have the right to have that.
And I respect your opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Jacob. Next I have Diane Madden.
Diane Madden, Councilman Blakeman, you did attack Pearl Jacobs, and I want to remind you that maybe if you have questions about the Coliseum, you should ask what went wrong initially. The Islanders know a lot about it. The Islander fans know a lot about it. So that's my suggestion. As far as the COVID money,
Ms. Madden, I didn't attack anybody. I said I was disappointed that Ms. Jacobs, who fashions herself as a leader in the Uniondale community, never brings up the Coliseum.
no, you've all been extremely angry today. You have politicized COVID, and maybe that's part of the problem. I'm no fan of Laura Curran's, believe me, but the fact that she is being attacked here relentlessly, and the fact that it was your town supervisor that set the tone to deny the county money when he initially was lavishing in millions of dollars that apparently there's 60 million that still has not been spent. So Supervisor Clavin, the poor leader that he is, set the tone to politicize this pandemic, not only by hiring $800,000 when we were all panic-stricken and you closed down Town Hall, this board hired $800,000 in Republican Party job favors. That's disgraceful. The fact that you can attack the county and talk about Councilman Carini bloviating all over the county. You asked me to go and advocate at the county as if a private citizen doesn't spend enough of her time trying to encourage good government. Why don't you go to the county if you take issue with how the county's spending their millions or billions, while obviously you still have millions you haven't spent? And Supervisor Clavin, you keep applauding Chuck Schumer, which maybe is very true. He may deserve those accolades. But you should have taken his example when this money first came into this town and the police needed money. Listen up, Councilman D'Esposito. The police department needed money in the county, but the town of Hempstead, under Clavin's leadership, denied that money to the county. On to the shelter. The volunteer program.
You do realize Nassau County ended last year with a surplus. The county said that at the end of the year.
That has nothing to do with the CARES Act money. You made it political.
It actually
It
does
actually
because
does.
the county. It actually does because the county got CARES money that they could have utilized for their first responders.
So instead, and by the way, Councilman D'Esposito, in your laundry list and politicizing this pandemic, you forgot about the touchless toilets that you put into town hall as children couldn't connect with teachers and their fellow students. That's what you spent money on, touchless toilets.
You mean to keep our workforce safe and the people who eventually visit town hall? I think it's a pretty good investment.
To update your bathrooms. As far as the volunteer program, it's a disgrace. Volunteers are not allowed inside the building. It's a farce. It's not a program, Clavin. Like
Thank you, Ms.
everything else
Madden.
you do.
Next, I'm going to bring up Marcia DiTieri. Good afternoon, Ms. DiTieri. If you just give your address for the record. How are you?
Hi, Marcia DiTieri, Merrick, New York. I wanted to speak about the animal shelter as well as the Tree Preservation Act. I just want to let you know it's Animal Appreciation Week. It's the perfect time to reopen the shelter and TNR program at full capacity. I'm sure that all employees are fully vaccinated and using social distancing. There will be only a positive response and an outcome. It's time. Regarding the Tree Preservation Act, now it's the spring. It's the best time to put a Tree Preservation Act into place. Twice yesterday, I saw 3 mature trees on one property and 1 mature tree at a second property being cut down. I spoke with the landscapers who said they had to be cut. I asked them if there were any babies in the tree. They said, yeah, we just put them over there. All the babies that are in these trees that are cut down, they will die. I'm also asking that if you have any information regarding a tree trimming program that will stop the landscapers telling people just to cut them down, that these trees are hollow and they're sick. Tree trimming through the town of Hempstead will keep trees healthy, will give families peace of mind saying this tree isn't going to fall on my house, as the landscapers tell them. Free to seniors, low cost, or free to town of Hempstead residents. You said you would have some information for me today regarding tree preservation?
Yeah, we've actually reached out to the other jurisdictions, Brookhaven, all the way out to the end of the island. I know that Mrs. Moriartis has been in communication with a few of the townships and are, trying to put together, each township is kind of doing it differently. So we're getting a list of what they are, because, you don't want to be too restrictive, though at the same time, listen, I'm with you. I love tree-laden streets. So we're going to come up with a formal plan, but we want to make sure we're doing it the right way, and we want to see what the other jurisdictions are doing to see what has and has not worked for them.
And you haven't gotten any answer yet?
No, we've gotten answers from it. We just haven't put forth what we feel comfortable with yet.
Okay, because legal does have that information for the past 5 years. My council person, Council Dunn, I've spoken with him twice in these years, and once he told me that they paid Paradise and they put up a parking lot. And the second thing he said was people have rights to do whatever they want on their property. But if it affects our health, it affects our water, it is everyone's business, and our health depends on it. We're slowly dying, cutting down healthy, mature trees. So something has to be done soon. If I see something every single day, I can't even imagine. We're going to be a big cement nothing.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you very much, Ms. DJ. I appreciate you coming, as always. I don't have any other slips in for anybody else who wishes to be heard. If not, I tell everybody to have a wonderful day. Take care.